Well, China's been pushing back against the allegations of genocide, and let's find out the reaction to the vote in the Canadian Parliament today. Cong Peiwu is China's ambassador to Canada. He joins me now. Mr. Ambassador, first of all, thank you for taking time to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Now, you watched the vote in the Canadian Parliament today. The vast majority of the elected representatives of the people of Canada believe your country has committed genocide against the Uighur minority. What's your reaction to that vote today?
We strongly condemn the motion, and I would like to point out that spreading lies runs counter to safeguarding human rights. Some people here in Canada and in some other Western countries claim there have been crimes of the century happening in Xinjiang. But actually, what they are hyping up are lies of the century. Because first, there's no genocide at all in Xinjiang. And I can share with you some of the facts and the figures. Well, over the past 60 years, the life expectancy has risen from 30 years to 72 years. And the Uighurs population from 2010 to 2018 has increased by 2.55 million, from over 10 million, from over just 10 million to 12.72 million. So that's an increase of 25%. That's much higher than the whole population in Xinjiang, which is 30%, and much higher than the Handan's ethnic group of 2%.
All right.
So it's not genocide at all.
You saw the vote. So clearly, the Canadian parliamentarians disagree with you. The United States has taken a position on this. So I'm not sure you and I are going to relitigate exactly what's happening to the Uighurs, because I think there's lots of world opinion that's clear on that, and you dismiss that, I know. So one of the things the Canadian government is asking for is an independent investigation, allow an independent group to go in to that region and see exactly what is happening. Are you open to that? Will your government allow that?
You know, Xinjiang is an open place for the outside people, and from 2018 to current time, more than 1,200 people have been visited Xinjiang from more than 100 countries. They compose of diplomats, journalists, representatives with religious groups, and they saw with their own eyes what's happening in Xinjiang actually is thriving prosperity.
Right, but you know the criticism, Mr. Ambassador, is that those people have been...
For the UN, that someone claimed that UN High Commissioner for Human Rights should be there. And actually, we extended invitation to the Human Rights High Commissioner long ago. And we are having this kind of communication with the office.
Okay,
I would like to suggest that we welcome people to be there.
Okay, let me come back to if I can, Mr. Ambassador. Can I come back to the vote today? The Prime Minister and his cabinet, they did not vote. They abstained from the vote today. Does that make a difference to you that this vote is not endorsed by the Prime Minister, or do you view this as a decision taken by Canada, whether the Prime Minister's backed it or not?
I think the most important thing is for the Canadian side to stop interfering in our internal affairs under the pretext of Xinjiang-related issues and correct mistakes. And also they should discuss bias and prejudice and to respect facts, so as not to further damage our bilateral relationship.
Right, but people in this country believe that Western democracies don't just have the right, they have an obligation to interfere in the affairs of other countries if they think human rights are being sacrificed, or if, in this case, the Canadian Parliament has said a genocide is underway. What do you say to that?
Because I believe when it comes to a human rights issue, it's the people of the country concerned which has the best say. So for the Chinese people, they are in the best position to judge the human rights record, whether it's in Xinjiang or elsewhere in China. And we are in the best stage of human rights in the history. And that's also I think, proved by those people in China, because for many years, when it comes to the polling from international bodies, more than 90% of the Chinese people surveyed, they have high regard for the central government of China.
Okay, let me come back.
The number are even more than 95%.
Okay,
so that's a true figure. And for people here, they should reflect on the human rights situation here in Canada and in other Western countries, like the suffering of the indigenous people in the past.
Do you, so let me come back to, are you saying you would be prepared to allow a delegation of Canadian experts to go into Xinjiang and examine what is happening there? You are open to that?
We welcome those foreigners with the idea of objectivity to be there to judge and to see for themselves. But we do oppose someone who has been trying to use the issue to smear China. And so for those who hold the view that China is guilty, even before they have been to Xinjiang, that's very dangerous. And we
okay, so that sounds, so you're saying no to a Canadian delegation?
I think if they are open-minded and with objectivity, certainly we welcome not only from Canada people, but elsewhere. And as I told you, from more than 100 countries, a lot of people have been there and they have been given high remarks.
What are your expectations now of the Prime Minister? So we have a motion passed by the Canadian Parliament, but as I say, he and his cabinet abstained. What do you expect now from Justin Trudeau? How do you think he should respond to this motion?
What I believe that is to urge the Canadian side to respect facts and to discuss bias and prejudice and to stop anything that further damage our bilateral relationship.
Let's talk about that. That's because that may be the most important part of our conversation. How will the vote taken in Parliament today affect Canada's efforts to win the release of the two Michaels, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig?
Those two Canadian citizens, as you mentioned, the relevant Chinese authorities are handling the case independently and in line with our laws. So they have been detained and prosecuted because of the crimes, suspected crimes, undermining China's national security. So that's the facts, So there's nothing like arbitrary detention. But when it comes to the Montreal incident, that's really arbitrary detention because she was detained while she was breaking no Canadian law at all.
Okay, but will the vote in the Canadian Parliament today hurt the chances of release of the two Michaels?
As I just mentioned, the relevant authorities, the judicial organs in China are handling the case according to law, and they will continue to do so independently.
Should Canadians expect retaliation from China for the vote today?
Certainly, we will take resolute measures to safeguard our national security, sovereignty, and development interests. And for those efforts which are aimed at disrupt our development, whether in Xinjiang or as a whole in China, they will be doomed to fail. And also I want to point out, because there's some part of the motion related to the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing. We firmly oppose that as well, because it demonstrates once again that some people here in Canada and in some other Western countries are politicizing the issue of the Winter Olympic Games. And that's also against the charter of the Olympics. And I think for Beijing Olympic Games, it won high recognition from the international community, including IOC. And even here in Canada and in the United States,
all right,
the relevant committees are supporting that event.
We will have to leave it at that, Mr. Ambassador, but thank you for your time today, and we'll talk again. Take care, sir.
Thank you.